Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is Suzanne Worthley back with another Energy Unleashed podcast with my co-host, Kim Hess. Hey, Kim.
Hello. Hi. Look at
I,
you. What's in the
I
back?
know.
You're at the lake, aren't you?
I'm at the lake. So
Oh my
I
God.
thought that I'm at the lake all week here doing some writing on a new book. And Kim is my neighbor at the lake, if some of you that are watching aren't aware of that. But I thought that I don't even know if you can see the lake,
It's a
actually, can you?
little, yeah, it's a little
It's
misty, it looks like.
it's
A
a
little
lot
foggy.
foggy today and it's rainy. And so I told Kim I was going to make an effort to go down by the shore to do this one to give you guys a really beautiful view of our wonderful lake. But there's so many freaking bugs out there right now because it's that misty, rainy stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. We're going in the screen. We're going in the screen porch for
Oh
sure.
God.
So
Can you do a little
anyway,
like whatever woo-woo stuff up there to get rid of the bugs for the weekend? That'd be great.
right? I know. So I think Kim and I will say right on here and make a deal with all of you that soon we will do one together up at the lake
Yeah.
outside so you can actually see some of the beauty up here. One of the, I don't know, most amazing things about having a place in northern Minnesota is the cedar trees, the pines, the trees in and of themselves, not to even to mention the lake. But when we found this place, it literally was magical in terms of I just knew this was going to be our cabin and it wasn't even for sale. So, and then almost the same exact thing happened when the cabin came up that I called Kim right away and said, you've got to get up here. So we are both so incredibly fortunate and blessed to be up in the northern Minnesota to do some of our work. And so I even have my cabin cup that Kim gave
Oh,
me.
seriously, Kevin. Yes.
Yep. And she gave me with my name on it and everything. So yeah, we do some of our, oh, I just lost my light now. It'll come back.
Oh,
But we're very fortunate to be able to do the work up here and share it with you. So we're excited to be back with another Energy Unleashed. These are cabin client client snippets that we share with you and then unleash together with Kim to kind of give you more information and take what resonates on every one of these. If it doesn't resonate, that's great. But this one's kind of an interesting one I wanted to talk about, Kim, because I've had so many people lately that are new clients. And, thank you, by the way, and listeners and watchers, because some have been coming straight off of the podcast, which is exciting. And share these with your friends if you choose to, which we hope you do, and subscribe and send out and comment to all of that, because this is a great way for us to find new things to do to self heal. And I am getting literally new clients coming to me because of the podcast, either remote or in person.
exciting.
And
Yay.
it's awesome for all of us individuals to find practitioners. And that's what I want to talk about, because there are so many kinds of modalities of practitioners out there. And I just wanted to bring this kind of forward in terms of, I had a gentleman the other day that found us online and he was adorable. He happened to be local and he had never seen me before. And when I came to the back door, I was kind of taken aback because he was standing there kind of far away from my door. And I came running out going, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the doorbell. And he goes, I haven't rang it yet. And I said, are you okay? And he's like, well, I got to be honest, this is all new for me because this was a first time thing. And he said, and then I was just a little taken aback when I saw the sign in the window, which, by the way, I have a witch on a broom saying witch parking. So I'm like, don't worry, I haven't killed anybody yet. It's not really a witch house. It just is a funny sign my daughter-in-law gave me. But I thought it was really interesting because I remember being scared to go to a healer also. And I encourage people to move through that fear, because he had an awesome session, at least I believe he did, in terms of it was new for him. And it is difficult to go to somebody new that's doing a practicum that maybe is a little bit out of your comfort zone. And I applaud the fact that he followed through, as have many new people with me, in terms of, the room feels a little different when I walk in here. I feel a little nervous. I feel a little jittery. Well, yeah, the room of a healer is very high vibration. You will feel a little funny. I remember those feelings when I went to see different healers going, even the room feels creepy. This person feels different. These are very natural and normal things that you come across. And I think it's very important for us to have the courage, if we choose, to go forward and let your body acclimate to all of that stuff, because it is different. It is new. It's out of comfort zones, but it doesn't have to be scary. So hopefully the practitioners that you're finding, searching out and looking for, and then actually booking with, are doing the effort to make you comfortable. And I do my best to put the power back into the seat of the person that is coming to see me right out of the gate, letting them know that I move the energy, I do that work, but I am not here to change you, change your beliefs, or fix you. I'm here to do the energetic work, and you choose to heal or not. And so this is kind of what I want to bring forward, because this can be kind of freaky. And I mean, you're a perfect example. The first time you saw me, you're like, what the heck, you know? A nice face.
Where you're like, wow, is this the house? Are we going in? Where are we going? Like, what is this about? Because we did it on a whim. I think I've talked about that before in other episodes, but my daughter was on a staycation, so this was a fun thing to do. And it was amazing. I mean, you knocked us into a whole nother place and perspective of life that has benefited us greatly. But the walking up to your house part, it was like, do we ring the doorbell? Do we not? Are we, what do we
do we run?
Should we be doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a funny experience.
And so again, I think it's important because there are so many kinds of modalities right now. And what I wanted to bring this forward is choose wisely in terms of the modality and the practitioner, because I may not be the greatest practitioner for you, or I may be the perfect one. It depends on your alignment to that person's belief systems, the way their energy runs, how they work, how they feel, how they present. And I, for those of you that know me a little bit better, am very galactic in my energy. I'm very electric in my energy. I do quantum work, so it's a whole different thing than, like, per se going to see a Reiki person. And not knocking a Reiki person, they're wicked strong in their own kind of work, but I don't do that same work. It's important for us as the customer or the client to find what resonates for us without any judgment attached to it, because maybe somebody sees me once and never comes back again because it just doesn't resonate. Or maybe they come once and they become a monthly client or a weekly client because it resonates that much. So the responsibility is really on the consumer, is what I'm wanting to bring forward, if that makes some sense.
Well, yeah, because I would think that you've had somebody come and see you, but then 5 years later they show up again because now they're ready. They're more ready and more open to have the healing. You know, they've just had to go through whatever it is before they get to that point.
That's funny, because that literally just happened last week. I saw somebody and it was like 5 to 7 years. Hey, I don't know if you're starting to hear the rain out here. I hope that's okay, because it's starting to rain like crazy.
No,
okay. I just had somebody that said I wasn't ready, and the things that you said blew my mind, but now they're making sense. And so this is another element. Thanks for bringing that up, Kim, because you may or may not be aligned to the information at the point you are in your journey, or maybe you're not even in your journey yet, etc. So these are things that I think are critical for us. I also think it is your responsibility to say, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel what I want. This person or this modality is not what I care for. I had a client just the other day talk about someone that she's working with that does darker work, more like, black magic work. And my client was doing a check-in with me. And I said, when I tap into that work, I would walk away from that. And maybe for other people, that's great work. For this particular client, she was like, yeah, I just wanted your opinion because when I scan it, I don't feel so good. And I said, trust your gut, because you know that this doesn't feel good. And I've made that mistake before myself. So this is a big deal.
Yeah, no, I've absolutely had that happen. But it felt good to start with. My initial session felt really great and very light. And as I moved forward with this person, it started to feel really, just my gut didn't feel good with what was going on. And I didn't understand it. I didn't really, know what that meant. And I wish I would have listened to myself a little bit sooner than I did, because I had I was actually trusting that everything that I was doing with this person was okay and very angelic, and it wasn't
And
necessarily.
I've had that same exact experience in terms of, I think what we're looking for is that little tiny voice inside of our own head. And oftentimes we make that tiny voice so quiet because we want that experience to be something that's fixing us. And I think the fixing thing is the part where it is, I keep kind of going out and
went
in
kind
and
of
light.
dark.
I apologize.
Well, that's so weird that we're talking about dark and you went dark. What's happening?
That is a little weird, isn't it? It'll come back because I think it has to do with the light quotient out here as well.
Yeah.
But I think it is important for us to be able to listen to that little inner voice. And my inner voice was being overshadowed by ego, in that this person knew something that I didn't, or they were more powerful than I was or wasn't, and on that goes. And so these are things for us, I think, to be able to have the courage to listen to that inner voice, our own inner voice. And especially when a client is giving all the power to a practitioner. I think this is one of the things that's very important, is to not give all the power to the practitioner.
Well, think about our society, though. We do this all the time when we go to the doctor. Please take care of me. Take care of me. How can you fix this? What pill can I take? You know, we do this a lot in real life.
Right.
It happens a lot. So why wouldn't you go to someone to say, just take care of me?
Right.
You know, without understanding how much power you have and what your intuition really brings to the table.
I think that's so funny because now I have no light when we're talking about the dark energy. I think that that's very interesting.
You move it. What happens if you tilt your screen a little bit?
I think I apologize. This has never happened. There we go. There we go. That might be better. Yeah. So I did not listen to my little teeny tiny knowing inside. And this is our birthright. This is our safety zone. This is our ability for us to always stay in power. And when we think that someone has that much more, like you said, the hero program, you're going to fix me, you're going to make me better, you're going to, you know, it's important for us to go, I'm actually fixing myself, and this is the systems. So when someone tells you that they are right, and when someone, a practitioner, is telling you this is the only way and that I'm the one that's doing this, this is the indicator that maybe this isn't the one for you.
Right, because it's not you doing the energy work, it's what comes through you through that person's higher self.
Correct.
And so maybe explain that a little bit, because I don't think people understand in some of these modalities how it really happens.
So as an energy practitioner, my job as a facilitator is to be a clear vessel, is to be a channel. And every single solitary person that I work with, I do different work. Even if I work with the same person on a weekly basis, I do different work, because they are at a different frequency. I'm at a different frequency. The frequencies are at a different frequency, etc. So it is never the same stuff. It is always different. And for example, if I have someone who is more aligned to the angelic realm, the angels will work with me. If I am having a client that's more galactic, the alien realm will work with me. If I have someone who is, you know, very stuck in past life things, ascended masters or biology lines, or their ancestors will work with me. So it is not me that's pulling that in, it is the client. And if I'm the one that is only pulling my information in through me the way that I want it, then I don't believe that I'm a very good practitioner, because I'm choosing to kind of railroad how that healing goes. A good practitioner stays completely open and lets everything channel and flow through them that is appropriate for that particular client at that particular time during this particular cycle of our universe. So there's a lot of elements that need to align for it to be genuine and integral, I believe.
Right. Right. That makes, and when you look at like a Reiki practitioner, that energy is coming through them as a vessel into, and it's from that higher self of the individual, or whatever angels, guides, you know, whatever may be part of a galactic part of that healing through them.
Yep.
But that they're not the ones that hold this to fix you.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's the biggest point in this, that I thought that when I first started coming to you, even though you explained it, it's like, she must have these super wicked powers, and you do
Oh,
as a
yeah.
vessel, but you're the vessel. You're not,
Yep.
it's
You are the superpower.
Mhm.
And back to practitioners, it's important for us to understand too, mix it up or try or experiment, because there's many things. There's, my kind of energy work is completely different than Reiki, like we said, which is completely different than other energy workers. There's past life workers, there's cranial workers, there's acupuncture workers, there's, a million different modalities out there that I think are important for us to even look at. And let's go back to Reiki for a second. There's theta healers. Theta, I've never had great experiences with. It just hasn't been my thing. I don't resonate to that. But Reiki, I've had Reiki that was super strong, and then Reiki that was not super strong. It doesn't mean that the practitioner is good or not good. It means that that doesn't resonate to my frequency. So it's important for us to not put the so-called blame or the responsibility on the practitioner. It's your job as the client to know what feels right for my resonance, feels right for my frequency. So these are all things to consider when you're out there looking around or getting referrals.
Yeah. And I think you have to when you look at yourself and what you're trying to accomplish, for me, for a long time, and still at this point, I keep looking for physical health, because I want to have that energy and feel physically stronger and better. And so when I started out this journey, I mean, my goodness, my physical condition was in really a bad shape because of I allowed my work to become my life. The stress, didn't know how to handle it. My body really took a toll with all of that. So, I started, when I started working with you, I started to think about, okay, what is it with this body? And so I mean, you look at like your neurological system, going to a chiropractor to line up everything so maybe your nervous system works better is a huge thing for me to get my body even talking within itself or functioning correctly from my neurological self. And so from there, I was like, okay, so what else can I do? So when you talk about the different, I mean, even doing infrared sessions for me with, because I have some arthritis, makes a huge difference in my physical body, which then helps me feel better, which then makes everything work better, from all of the different parts of me. Detoxing my feet. It's an interesting one. If anybody's ever done that, it's pretty gross. It can be pretty gross, but
it can be pretty gross. It is gross, but it's cool.
It is so cool. And my joints feel so much better after I do that. It's amazing because it's a lymphatic, thing. And
I think it's combinations too. Like, for example, I love the cranial worker that we work with, and I love my massage therapist. And I oftentimes will go and get adjusted at the chiropractor and then run to the massage person, so that you're buddying up modalities also. Because if I'm getting, my bones adjusted, it behooves me to get my muscles adjusted on the heels of that, etc. And then my kind of work goes all the way into the, origins of your actual blueprint and into your soul space and into your higher self. And so that's a whole different thing. So the other thing I want to bring forward for people that are new to practicums is that oftentimes you feel worse when you see a practitioner. And this is something that I hope people understand is not means that they're bad. This means that you're purging. This means that you're healing. This means that you are getting the gunk out. You're stirring the pot and it's raising to the top. And this, to me, indicates that you're doing some great work, and it's important to keep going if you choose, in terms of either with that practitioner or yourself, because just because you feel like crap doesn't mean you're not healing.
Well, and sometimes your body starts to work, and your spiritual side, your higher self starts to work even before you get to that practitioner. Like, pay attention to like the day before, or that morning of, or whatever. I mean, my digestive system would go crazy when I first started seeing you.
Yep. And everybody says, it's so weird. I felt like you were working on me in the car on the ride over here. And I'm like, that's how that works. So, yeah.
That's really
cool. And that doesn't have to be scary. That's pretty cool. And then lastly, I would like to also say on that vein, make sure to understand that you can undo the work of a practitioner in 2.5 seconds. And I say this to every client when they're done, no matter if I see them every week, I say the same thing. Now, remember, this work will still be working for 2 to 3 days. It's your job to only focus forward on what you want, not give attention to what you don't, or you can reverse the work. And I have had multiple clients reverse the work because they are immediately focusing on things that Suzanne didn't fix, or my other practitioner didn't fix, or the chiropractor didn't fix that. You got to give your body some time to be able to fix itself, is what it's doing.
Yeah. Think about how
And
complicated our systems are. I mean, down to the cellular level. I mean, you can't, it's not, just going to happen instantly, usually. I do think there are those kinds of situations, but yeah, I always have symptoms after a really good healing session for days.
And especially if you are doing a practicum like a chiropractic, for example, it is critical to understand they're not just digging for your business. It is a concept that needs adjustment after adjustment for a period of time to get you into an alignment that your body can then trust and hold on to. And I have a couple of chiropractic friends that also get frustrated as practitioners because people want them to fix them in one shot. And they're mad because it feels bad in 3 days. And it is the frustration of a practitioner when that client doesn't understand there is a retraining of the actual body, especially when it comes to the bones and the muscles. Mm-hmm. And so these are all things to consider when you are traversing the different kinds of modalities out there. Find what works for you, and please take the power yourself and don't give it all to the practitioner or the blame.
Yeah, right. Whichever. Yeah. But one thing too that might, like for me, mixing in like medical, like physical therapy was something that I ended up doing with all of some of these things, and orthopedic and some different things that I think, and working with my regular doctor, for my thyroid, and all that kind of mixes into the whole picture depending on what you're doing as well. You can't just drop all of the regular medical necessarily in some of this. Some can, some cannot, because the situations are different.
It's a blend, it's a blend of everything, right? I mean, that's the whole point. And again, it's about you taking your stance of you're in charge of this. Even with the medical field, you have to eat this, you have to take this drug, take that drug, do this. Oftentimes I go, no, I don't need to do that because I can do some other work for that. And these are all choices that people have if they choose, right? I mean, that's part of it. Right. I want to go back to the dark thing before we wrap up in terms of when you're with a practice or a practitioner or a practice that needs to really take over and have you come again and again and do this thing again and again. And, you need to buy this, or you need to, purchase this. And that when it is going down a road of all consuming, that's a big red flag. I just want to say that, because once upon a time, a friend and I were doing some work with a shaman that, gave the advice that you need to buy this prayer pack and you need to buy this. And it's, you have to have 6 sessions to do this. And I can't get this attachment out of you until you purchase this. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely not. None of that is a thing. And the person I was with was kind of taken aback in that I have to spend that kind of money in order to get healed. And I'm like, absolutely not. So there are bogus everything out there. I mean, everything in the world has good and bad and ugly, right? And so these practicums are also filled with integrity or non-integrity. And it is up to us as the consumer, just like anything else. We purchase the food that is good for us and looks good and is fresh, or we don't. It's no different than groceries or homes or cars, or find the right thing, find the thing that matches for you, find the thing that you are empowered with versus giving your power away too, especially long term, because health and wellness is something that is our birthright. We are self-healers. We are healers. Every single one of us is a healer, and we are birthed the right to heal ourselves. And these are things that we can learn. And my goal is to teach and to empower. And I think that most integral practices offer that, because ultimately we're supposed to teach others, right? And move on and keep going and keep healing in a bigger way. So these are things to consider. And I think it's been fun for me to see so many new people coming in with that kind of face, like, woo, and then going home with like, oh my God. That makes me happy
Or, oh my God, what just
yeah.
happened?
The WTF moment. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else that you have advice for practices? Because you do different
Well, I
ones.
think the biggest thing is to have that relationship with yourself, that you trust yourself and your instincts. Because that was like a huge lesson for me. And I really didn't know that I didn't trust myself enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And part of that was a worth, that I wasn't worthy, or I was angry with my body.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to really figuring out, and it's a constant, believe me, because there's times when I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, but to really trust that then when something comes up and it doesn't feel good, that you can take a different, or not go back, or maybe you need extra help after going to some type of practitioner. But just really trust yourself and love yourself, enough to do that.
That's such a great angle, because it's reminding me of another person that I had the other day that was new also. And she was really struggling with many, many, many different things. And she said she just rattled them off. I've been to a cranial person, I've been to a Reiki person, and she went, I swear to God, it was probably 6 or 7 different modalities that she rattled off within the last year, right? Or whatever years of her struggle. And this particular person was still really giving herself very many negative labels, because this was her belief system, is that she was still broken, that she was still needing to be fixed. And until you take that self-responsibility, like you said, and I recall with her session saying towards the end of it, don't underestimate that all of those ones that you rattled off, all of those so-called, sessions with different modalities that you rattled off, didn't do huge amounts of work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's you that wants to embrace that work and bring in that work and own that work, because until you trust your own body, that work is not going to come to fruition.
Right.
So I was encouraging her to sit with that concept of not only the work she did that day with me, but go back and allow yourself to reintroduce that Reiki session, or that EMT session, or the EDDM, or all of the, you've got that too, all of that biofeedback stuff, all the tapping work, there's so many things out there, and you can walk away from that session thinking that didn't do anything. And yet, 6 months later, if she sits with it, that definitely is still in your blueprint, or in your body, or in your cells, or in your nervous system. It's in there. So if you get to the place where you're like, no, this is part of my body, this is good, I get to own this, I'm the one that gets to own this, that's, I think, when things really open up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great, it just means a lot, because I've been there.
Actually, I'm gonna use you
there.
right now, and hopefully this isn't offending you, because I didn't ask permission, but you've been doing a cleanse for quite some time, and we were talking earlier on together, that you are finding that you're not like necessarily you're at a plateau for weight loss with the
Mm-hmm.
cleanse. Except you said the coolest thing, and I want to bring this forward. You said it's almost like the fat inside of me is melting, and on the outside of me feels different, like more jiggly. So now that I know if I start to work out, it will just disappear and melt. And I think this is a perfect metaphor for what happens. We heal from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then the outside structure starts to change. And I see your differences every day, and I see you quite often, but I can see how you are completely so-called melting, in terms of, even though your maybe scale isn't changing. So even this part of your journey of cleansing is making profound changes that you might not see today, but you're going to see them, maybe in 2 months or 2 years or whatever. And this is part of the journey, is again, to not sit and think I'm getting fixed. I'm getting offered a practicum or a practitioner session to assist in the process of owning my own body.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
So important. And by the way, because you were talking about going back, like maybe, going back 6 months to whatever session. I just listened to the recap of a session we did in April. And part of that message that was actually with the galactic.
Oh, yeah.
Part of that message was that your healing capabilities are totally within you. Like
Yes.
you're doing this detox as a stepping point so that you learn that it's in you. It's not
Yes.
something else or somebody else that's going to give this to you. It's in you.
Isn't
And
that
it's
great?
so interesting how, I heard it and it meant so much at that time, but I heard it again yesterday. It's like, oh my God, yes, that's right.
Yep.
Okay. It's just changing that perspective on how this is going to go.
Which, by the way, brings up a really good point. If these modalities are new to you, especially somebody like a galactic worker, and that isn't something you're normally, interacting with, record it, stick it on your phone, bring a recorder, do voice memo or whatever, because a lot of times you will listen to it later, like you said, and it will make sense. And there's many people that see me for the first time and they're so completely bowled over from too much information, because I have that problem of saying way too much or doing, throwing too much at them, because I always figure it'll sink in somewhere. But it's always really nice to be able to revisit those. And a lot of times when I do massive big work with some of my practitioners that I go see for my health and wellness, I record them on my phone and I revisit them later. And that is a really good point that you brought up, is to, record that stuff and revisit it, because it might not make sense today, or it maybe went over my head today, but boy, oh boy, 6 months later, it's like, holy bananas, now that really makes sense,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. It was fun to
Cool.
listen to again. It was really great. So thank you.
Cool. Well, and so, to wrap it up, be courageous if you choose, find referrals. And I think the biggest nut that she and I would like to put forward is use your own intuition. If something is starting to feel like, this just isn't the one for me, it just means you don't gel with that person, or it's your red flag. And so trust your own body, I think, is my biggest advice. Right?
Absolutely. I agree fully.
Cool. All right. Well, on behalf of us, thank you for another Energy Unleashed podcast. And we hope that you subscribe, hit like, hit share, put some comments on. We are here for you at any time, and we will see you very soon with another subject. Thanks. Until then, cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.